I honestly feel like sometimes we should smoke some situations. We should smoke some people.
There was times when you guys left in a G63 40 minutes before us, and we caught up to you guys in a Lamborghini Orus. That was an amazing memory. We've got a video of that. Maybe we'll play the video on here.
Send the video to them.
I'm onto you.
So am I.
So you're aware. That force that's gonna wreck it. I'm gonna wreck you, inshallah. I'm sorry. I don't. As in,
for the sake of Allah.
Yeah, for the sake of Allah. 100%. As in, I don't need to think that I'm sitting here like, as in, I'm scared of you. No, brother. Man's been quiet for a couple. All of you innovators been quiet for a couple years because we're in the chamber. Do you understand? I promise you. They sit there. Some of them been studying for 10 years. They love to point fingers. You, man, love to point fingers. I hide the truth for my personal benefit.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome back to another episode of Chai with my Bhai. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a deep dive into something that really sometimes troubles us personally and affects the decisions that we make. And at other times, it's something we don't give a damn about at all. And that is you guys, your opinions, the opinions of people in general. And hopefully we're going to be giving you guys a balanced approach that you guys can use in your own lives when it comes to making decisions and choosing whether to do something or not do it, and what people will think or the thoughts of people. So the reason why we decided to do this episode in the first place is because we actually recently recorded an episode, myself and Imran, on the issue of how to influence people. Right, different techniques you can use in your personal lives, in business, in da'wah, in like these techniques can be used everywhere. Yet we decided, or rather, I guess we advised, and you accepted the advice. I think, right, that was the khulasa, right? We're not going to release it, or depending on how this one goes, we might actually end up releasing it.
Like conceded.
No. Yesterday you said I have taken your advice. That's literally what you said.
Yeah, as in reluctantly.
No, but you actually said, didn't you say, oh, you convinced me?
You just, yeah, well, like,
you actually used those words.
Like you said, you convinced me,
You convinced me, barakallahu
Yeah.
I actually agree.
Reluctantly. I didn't want to be convinced.
Okay. So, what's the reason why we wanted to think twice before we release this particular episode?
Ask Abbas.
Okay, so here's what happened. The brothers recorded an episode, I wasn't a part of it. And upon watching it, I said it was a good episode. It was a good podcast. I have no doubt in the value of the conversation, but the particular people involved in the conversation, there is a type of suspicion that can be brought onto them. So I said it's probably not a good look for you specifically to be looked at from this light, from this angle.
Even though I put multiple disclaimers.
Oh, of course, but this, as we discussed yesterday, disclaimers are just another way of sort of like covering yourself or like, you know, shielding yourself from a form of criticism, even though it may be valid. It's like saying, oh, I didn't say that. By the way, at the beginning I said this, but it still opens you up to that kind of suspicion.
When you watched the episode, did you have any inkling of that at all?
No, I did, but I didn't think that it was
enough.
No. Enough is not the word. I'm not talking about to not put the episode out. Just in terms of its own merits, the podcast is good, the episode is good, the topic is good. I'm just saying that from another angle, from the personal branding angle, or let's say like the public relations, PR angle, it's not a good look for you personally.
But then we also know that, for example, when you're doing podcasts, when you are, for example, you're content creating, creating content, you have to be able to stand out from the rest of the crowd. Okay, and
polarizing, and controversial,
yeah, right. And one of the things that makes me who I am is that I am a polarizing individual.
Okay, yeah.
And I do challenge the status quo. And whenever someone challenges the status quo, there's always going to be people that feel uncomfortable or dislike towards this particular person.
Disenchanted.
Right. The Prophet came and the status quo at the time was shirk, and the Prophet challenged it with tawheed.
Yeah.
And he was ostracized for it, and he was kicked out of Mecca. Does that make sense? Yeah. So one of the things that helps your message travel and get to the people that you want it to get to, and it helps you engage with them and get their attention, is to be polarizing in a certain type of way.
Sure.
Does that make sense? So, and it's not even like I'm putting it on. This one, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then the flip side is I'll just be vanilla and very mild, and the people who do listen won't listen and won't bat an eyelid and won't benefit, and the people who don't listen and just criticize but won't criticize. there's just no benefit. Does that make sense?
But that's one extreme, right? One extreme is
if
to
I give an
just
example
say,
to illustrate, like one of the biggest examples from my life that I have to illustrate that point is the video that I did in Masjid Furqan, Masjid Noor Acton, where I was giving the brother a reminder, and then I said to him, "Shut up," and then I went on to give a very passionate, tough reminder to these brothers. Now, truth be told, that video got a crazy backlash. People were very upset about it. People turned that into a meme. People made jokes and comedy sketches and skits out of that video.
They made songs out of it.
Say again?
Someone made a song out of it.
Right.
a song.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Leave that. Anyway, point being is that people, they put little backing tracks.
There's a little backing track and they were cutting out his words back and forth. Yeah.
Anyway, point being, I don't want people to search it, so I don't want to put too much details. No, it was going around. But but on the flip side, there were brothers in the comments, in real life, in my DMs saying, "Bro, that video changed my life. That was the video that woke me up." As in, I would not have woken up and listened. Now, my thing was that I don't talk to people like that in real life. And nor is every lecture in the masjid that I've done like that, back to back. Does that make sense? But it was a particular crowd of people that I was talking to, and that was the best way to talk to them. As I've said multiple times when I explained what happened in that incident, there were brothers in a community, in a masjid, where people were getting stabbed in Ramadan back to back. One guy got stabbed while doing wudu, one guy got stabbed in Taraweeh. This is the worst type of situation. And in the masjid, brothers, just before the salah, we had just prayed before the talk, were punching each other.
Yeah.
And now I'm giving a talk to try and calm the situation down. They're about to kick off again. So then I've gone aggressive. And they've listened. And they've gone and benefited now. And I put that video clip online.
I think you should mention that again. Obviously, for people who don't go to the masjid or they don't have the context, it's kind of surreal to imagine that like fights are breaking out in the masjid, people are shouting at each other in the masjid. Like the inside of the masjid is a street, for example. But that's actually the image. You would have to have been there to see that. I was there that day. You'd have to have been there to see what the state of affairs were to really contextualize it.
And my point is, no one in the masjid got offended.
Bro,
those kids who are really cruddy, and some of them are in jail right now, and some of them changed their life completely. I'm saying, I have a relationship. I went back the week after in this town, and the week after, and then they came to Umrah with us. Then they came to another Umrah trip with us. That's what I'm saying is that no one took offense. Why are people online taking offense?
So I think that taps into a different problem, which is that some things are, I'm not going to say suitable, but they are catered towards a particular audience.
Correct.
Someone who's not from that audience may feel disenchanted by that. And that's one thing that obviously living in an online digital world that we live in.
Because I'm not talking to them.
You're right, but
My message went
but
forward.
what if that person genuinely feels that that's something wrong? Does that mean they can't do inkar of the munkar? If they genuinely believe that, look, for example, you shouldn't shout in the masjid, for example.
No, but that's wrong, because the Prophet shouted in the masjid. So don't talk.
But that's what they believe.
But that's wrong. They believe
But
it's
I'm
wrong.
saying, how would they be corrected unless they initiate that conversation in the first place?
So that's my point, is that...
Like if a person comments on the video, "Oh, this is wrong. You shouldn't shout in the masjid." Someone else comments saying, "No, the Prophet doesn't shout in the masjid." "Oh, barakallahu feek, thank you."
Oh, but most of them don't do that. Most of them are like, when I don't really see most people when they see the hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, when he's saying the Prophet when he used to give khutbah, ihmarrat ayna'u kama qala, his eyes would become red, wa ala sawt, his voice would go high, ka'annahu mundhiru jaysh, like he was warning of an army coming. I've seen that hadith being posted in my defense on Twitter, on all over, but I don't see it change people's perception. Truth be told, my thing is that these people are ignorant, or maybe they're just not intended for the message to reach them, or maybe whatever. But why am I caring about them? Because the message gets through. I'll give another example. We was in Birmingham, we did a talk once, and there was a situation that happened where someone got...
So are we saying that people shouldn't comment on things? Because imagine that, for example, look, someone's watching a video of Yasir Qadi where he's saying, "Oh, Ya'juj and Ma'juj." I can't... If you believe that there's people right now alive in a thing behind a wall somewhere, like, my mind can't fathom that. You might be able to, but my mind can't fathom that. Even though there's a hadith that mentions it, can they not comment under that and say...
Look, I'm not saying that I'm...
Like, how do you...
No, I'm saying you can comment, you can correct me if I've made a mistake, but make sure you do it upon knowledge. And definitely don't do it on the basis of negative assumptions. But my point is, this discussion from what I gathered before we did this, it's not about the people.
This is
about
tangent.
us. It's about whether we should... I don't believe that we're going to provide a solution to people's way of dealing with content which is unjust or incorrect. The question is, do we place these people on our board of directors? As in, when we make decisions of the way we should take our da'wah, the way we should take our business, or the way we should do things, we are the board of directors.
Yes.
Do we also place our critics on that board as well?
Sometimes. It depends on
I don't
the
think you should call
situation.
them the critics. I think you should call it the public perception.
Yeah, because it's not always negative.
Okay, my point is that I do agree that public perception should be considered, and the Prophet did consider public
Right.
perceptions. But
what degree is
but
the
does
question?
public perception take a place on your seat?
Yeah.
I disagree with that.
Why?
At all.
Because I'm saying...
I'm not saying
do
you should...
you know why?
In totality, that's the only...
Because there's no filter. As in, there's two ways of dealing with it. One is that I can consider public perception, and I
Why
make the decision.
is it binary?
Say that again?
Why is it binary?
Yeah,
What do you mean
that's
by
what
that?
Why is it
I'm
not a spectrum? Obviously, when it
Why
comes
is
to,
it
when it comes to
consider it or not
gender,
consider it?
it's clear.
Yeah.
There's no spectrum. It's
No,
male
I'm
or
saying
female.
because there's a spectrum, that person doesn't have a seat on my board. I get to decide.
Wait, one second. Could you explain in depth what that means?
Yeah,
So
well, okay.
you're making a decision. You can imagine the public perception of the public
Yeah.
from the decision you're going to make. You can imagine it. Okay, you can conceive of it. So what do
I'll
you
give you an
decide?
example.
What
I'll
do you
give you
decide thinking about that?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Yeah, there's a difference between a guy who's actually present on the board and his voice and opinion has a vote.
Okay.
And it's very different to us being the board and we're taking into consideration the general public opinion. I'll give you an example. What I find that happens between us some of the times is that we will choose to make a decision to do or not do something because of one or two or three individuals.
Okay.
Like, as in, for example, the podcast yesterday, you mentioned the names of two brothers.
No, okay.
I'm giving an example.
And I made it very clear. By the way, I'm not saying these specific. I'm saying the principle applies to everyone that's ever worked with us. But it was not to do with those brothers.
But I honestly believe, and this is just my feeling, I might be wrong, and
Sure.
it's my belief,
Sure.
is that I believe that we give those people, we actually place them in front of our eyes, and they are the filter by means of which we make these decisions. And it's not actually the general public opinion as so much it is one or two guys who we might personally know in real life or online, and we're making decisions based on them.
Do you not think this is a conflation? You've conflated two things.
Go
The
on.
podcast topic of, manipulation or persuasion or whatever, and the specific people that I was probably talking about, that Abu Bakr might have been talking about, those are one group. Those are people you've met, you've worked with, you've
For that
done
podcast,
da'wah with.
yeah.
I'm not talking
that
about just that one
specific
podcast,
concept, and then
by
the
the way.
public perception is completely different.
That's what in that podcast it was specifically. Yeah, it was about people that know us.
Yeah.
But when it's been other times, it hasn't been that. For example, there've been times where we've come up with, or maybe sometimes you've come up with, or
I
I've come up
disagree.
with
I
crazy title names,
Yeah.
or thumbnail ideas, and with them, we said, nah, you know what, that's going to be a mad
No,
thing.
and I'm open to that sometimes. But what frustrates
That's the point.
do you know what? Because it's
So there's a
but-
spectrum.
But I'm telling you, and I've been there, bro. There's many a time where we sit, it's like, oh, we can't make the video because of this individual.
That depends on the individual. There are certain individuals we don't. Why? Because
But-
it turns into a headache, turns into a tamasha.
But I believe, but that's my point. Is
That
that
means some sort
So
of
I
problem,
believe
nastiness.
it's a case by case basis.
not necessarily, because
Party.
sometimes the tamasha, sometimes
Sometimes.
is worth it.
Sometimes.
Does
That's
that make
the point.
sense?
It's a case by case basis. It's
No,
not
and
general.
also- no,
You're saying
and also
you're saying
you
it's
have to consider
binary.
it. Remember, you said
Either you
consider
consider
it or not
people,
consider it. That
or
means
you
you
don't
consider it,
consider
or you
people.
consider it to
But
be
the
worth
lens
it.
is wrong. I don't think it's based on whether this guy is gonna like it or not. It should be based on whether it's gonna please Allah or not, because it might turn everyone against us.
100%.
It might no, but that's my point. Is that that's not? I feel that that's not necessarily always the starting line.
No, that's
You
not.
can say no, but I'm telling you that's what I believe. That's how I feel. As in,
As in,
like,
that's how you feel.
No,
that's
no,
how you
that's-
feel. You.
I feel like sometimes, a lot of times, that's what happens, and sometimes I even feel guilty. I honestly feel like sometimes we should smoke some situations. We should smoke some people, but
Yeah, I agree. There's been times where I wanted to smoke.
We don't because of whatever. And there's a hadith in Sunan Tirmidhi where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Don't let your haiba of a person, don't let your respect or fear of a person, prevent you from forbidding the evil."
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but just like the scholars prevent some knowledge from people because they're not ready for it, I would
Absolutely.
say it's the same thing with the general
I
public.
do agree with you, but the
The general
starting point should
public,
be Allah and His
sometimes it's not worth it. It's not
I
like
100%
the
agree.
khair that you want out of it is not worth the backlash. that's
So,
gonna
what
come
are your
from it.
thoughts?
You know what my thoughts?
I want your thoughts.
Sorry. Okay. The thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around is, okay, you have examples. For example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Sallallahu
right,
alaihi
where
wasallam.
he would not do certain things because of the reaction from the public. For example, when
Khariji man.
the Khariji man, right? When I don't know which Sahabi was that wanted to.
Umar, right?
I'm not sure who it was, but I wanted to basically strike him, and then the Prophet ﷺ said, "Don't," because then the people will say that Muhammad kills his own people. In that particular scenario, the Prophet ﷺ is able to make that judgment, that there is a public reaction that will take place and will be negative. I guess the reason why the Prophet can do that is because he's Rasulullah, right? So he's able to weigh up and know that which is a maslahah and that which is a mafsada. And I guess that's probably the key thing, that if there's something that needs to be done, and whether it should be done or not based upon the public's reaction, it should take into consideration the maslahah and the mafsada, so the harms and the good.
In other words, case by case.
Case by case, but also taken to a board of people of that knowledge. Just like the Prophet was a person of knowledge, and he was able to weigh up the maslahah and the mafsada. I feel like a lot of the time...
What is Muslim for?
That's what,
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons, right? So, I guess the example that to be honest comes to me is, for example, the issue of when you guys named the Brothers Club the Badr Club, right? And you sent a message to Sheikh Muhammad al-Ishaqi, and what he responded to you with, which was that this is something that you should have asked me before even going out public with it. Which I guess that's basically it, right? So if you're going to do something and you want to question whether it should be done in the public light or not, well, the maslahah and the mafsada needs to be, in the pros and cons need to be weighed, but then who weighs them? It will be particular people of knowledge that you can take it to. And I guess that's probably the best way to kind of deal with it. And in the end, if it turns out to be a negative reaction, it goes bad, then at least you tried. At least you strove. Does it make sense?
What did you mean? When you said, do you put the people on your board? Like, what did you actually mean? But what's the practical application of that?
You know how when you say...
Because what I understood from that, maybe we're even misunderstanding each other, is that there are times when you won't do something because of the people. In that situation, that person's on your board, but I feel like that's not what you...
That's not what I mean. No.
So what do you mean?
It's like when you say that when you resent someone, they're living in your head rent-free.
Yes.
As in, you're giving them more weight than they deserve.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Likewise, when you sometimes give your haters and your critics more weight than what's due to them, it's tantamount to having them in your board of directors. My point is not to not consider public opinion. I mentioned that already, that as in there are times when you do take into consideration. You have the example of the Prophet Safi bin Tu'ay, when the Prophet was walking with his wife, he clarified to his companions, I'm not walking with a strange woman, I'm walking with my wife, so they don't think that he's with a strange woman. The Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, subhanAllah, we never doubted you. Point being is that the Prophet clarified. But my point is that what's the starting point? Is the starting point what you think, or is the starting point what is going to be pleasing to Allah and His Messenger? An example to kind of maybe draw a comparison is that when it comes to giving da'wah, when it comes to seeking knowledge, you want to impact and benefit the most people possible, right? When I make a video, when you teach a lesson, a project, you obviously want to be able to benefit the most amount of people, right? No one's going to deny that that's something khair, if you can help millions of people. No one's going to deny that. But Imam Shawkani, rahimahullah, in his book Adab al-Talab, The Manners of Seeking Knowledge, he mentioned that one of the ways that shaitan comes to you is that he makes that your starting point. How can I help the most people possible? Is what happens when you do that is that you start off with an insincere intention, because you're starting with the people. And when you start with the people, and the people are the first port of call, the first filter, the first lens by means of which you make this decision, then that can lead you down a very sticky path. Because Allah said in the Quran, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. If you follow the majority of people on the earth, they will misguide you from the straight path. So the point here is that you start with Allah and His Messenger, and what's going to be most pleasing to Allah and His Messenger. And then based upon that, we'll make the decision of, okay, cool. Is the people's perception on this issue in a negative way, does it have weight? For example, the people will perceive in most situations a lot of aqeedah issues as not worthy of being spoken about, of being divisive, or whatever have you. But does that mean we don't speak about them? For example, does that make sense?
There's literally no disagreement between what you just said now and what I was saying.
I know, but my point is that I understand that we don't disagree with the concept.
As in, definitely.
Because that would be like...
First and foremost, everything that we decide Allah or not. Otherwise,
No, but
otherwise we'd be doing things like putting women in our thumbnails and getting women on our podcast and putting music in the background and all these things, because that would essentially get more views and this and that. So I think that's clear.
I feel like sometimes we may not do certain things. We may not like actively do certain things for Allah's sake, like not putting women on thumbnails. But sometimes we may withhold certain things
For Allah's sake.
And my worry sometimes maybe it's not.
What would it be for then? If not for the sake of Allah?
As in the fear of being
for the
blamed.
people.
Fear of being blamed, criticizing.
Because like, my things, brother, I'm ready to go to war.
But sometimes,
Like, do you understand? Like, my
the
thing
question is,
peacetime, bro.
sometimes
No,
but
what
the-
I mean by that, metaphorically.
Yeah, no, I said metaphorically. I said it's peacetime. I didn't mean
my
like.
point, I don't care.
You know, I feel like there's another issue
So
there as well.
No, hear me.
I'm
let me-
confusing you.
so
You're
let me
sending
explain.
mixed messages.
No, let me explain.
Okay.
I'm saying I don't care if people are upset with me and Allah is pleased with me. Like, I genuinely don't care. So my thing is like sometimes I feel like I'm keeping quiet on certain things
Yep.
when the right thing to do is to headbutt this issue.
Okay, so what do you do in that situation when that happens?
No, but
Well, I'll be honest. I've been hasty in the past, and I've been guilty. Right, of not doing shura.
Shura and istikhara, right?
So I do listen to what the brother say, and it's just sometimes I listen, but I disagree.
Okay, so going back to the original question which you asked about, do you sometimes put the...
I think you really want to say something. So
No.
speak. You have to.
no, the only thing I was going to say is that I guess we're also, where there's a bit of push and pull between, for example, things that you might want to do, is that you might want to say something which is correct, but sometimes the way you deliver the message is a bit mad. And I guess that's where the controversy kind of side comes in. But you just said something right now. I was going to say something about it. What did you just say?
Why he wants to go to war?
You said something about that sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't.
Sometimes I listen, but I disagree.
Yeah, I will give in, but I disagree.
The point that I was going to make is, so your original question when you said, do you make the people on your board? And I said, it depends. Sometimes you do. You said, no, you don't. What I meant by that is, because what's the board? The board is there to basically, should we put this forward or not? And sometimes, as you yourself agreed, that you do decide, okay, you know what? This is not going to go down well. Let's not do this in that way. Let's do it in a different way. In that situation, in the way I answered your question is, for me, that is they're on that board for that issue. They've said no, like that's it. But I don't mean they're the primary thing. Like that would be.
But being on the board means you have a primary goal. Look, we clearly don't disagree on the concept.
Yes.
But so I don't want to dwell on too much because then it just becomes an unnecessary semantic, back and forth. But I do think it's unhealthy for you to, because remember, words are vehicles for meanings, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Board of directors is big. You don't have a right to talk about what happens in my project, in my company. But it's for the board of directors. So for me, I get scared when you say to me, no, they are on the board. Because it's like, words are vehicles for meaning. So you might end up giving...
No, I believe that they are in that situation.
Well, you saying that is making me angry. I actually feel I want to kick this guy.
I believe you're just saying you don't feel like
kick him off the board.
As in the reality is they are there.
No,
But you're running away from that because for some reason I can't seem to understand.
No, because my point is they don't.
Do you consider the public opinion before you make a decision?
It's part of the process.
So then,
but they don't deserve to be on the board.
The process is the board. That's what I'm saying. That's what I've understood it as. The process is the board. You go around. What are your thoughts?
So much.
First and foremost, Allah and His Messenger. What they're gonna want. Yeah. Then we speak to the brothers. Then we consider public opinion.
We agree.
It's all part of the board or the
We're
process.
Using words that I feel like I honestly don't think it'll be healthy to go back and forth.
No problem.
Yeah, but because using words are triggering for me.
No problem. No problem.
Why are you looking at me that way? I really want to know.
Because it's semantics. At the end of the day, what you both agree on the meaning. You don't have to. You don't have to take the words personally.
No, but words are vehicles for meanings.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying. But you have understood the meaning behind the words that he's saying, so you can omit the words in your mind, can't you?
You might lean towards a certain direction because of a word that you used.
Okay, no doubt. I'm not taking away from any of that. I'm just saying that you can take away the specific word and understand the meaning regardless.
I believe.
So let's move on, inshallah. Another implication, or I guess, what's the word? Not implication, application of this is obviously, look, Alhamdulillah, over the last few years, Allah has really blessed us in many different ways. And one of those ways was in terms of finances, right? And Alhamdulillah, we've been able to, one of the reasons why we moved to the UAE, is this going to come up before the Dubai episode or after the Dubai episode?
I have no idea. It might never come up.
It might never come
out.
out.
It might be one of those 10 episodes that's in the episode graveyard.
Who knows?
Guys, do you know?
We have a whole vault of unreleased episodes.
Guys, do you know why there's been 3 weeks of unreleased episodes? Because we do episodes that are real and they're beneficial.
It's too real.
But there's an idiot on the board who says, no, I will be upset.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken,
if you keep saying that, it's going to make me feel like you haven't understood what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're trying to say.
I would say there were more episodes that were due to lack of preparation, no?
And I think that guy's on the board as well.
Lack of...
That guy who's supposed to prepare is on the board as well. He's the pattern up too.
No, I really want to hone in on this point because everyone thinks, that everyone around, especially when we used to doubt a lot, this criticism would come up a lot, which is that he does all these crazy things and his friends never tell him otherwise. They're just his little what's the word? Little
yes
soldiers. Men. Yeah, they're just little yes men. They never tell him what. Bro, we've been telling this guy every single day. We tell him
just
what to do.
there are times where he tells us.
Yeah, exactly. It's a back and forth. It's like nobody's being bullied into any position. And
there have been times where I've wanted to do something, headbutt something, and move on the mat, and you tell me it's not wise right now.
Yeah.
Hold back the people.
Yeah,
what are you
definitely.
going to say?
No, I don't think I say it like that.
There are times. There are times.
Look, just before we go on to the Dubai thing, definitely there are times when you don't tell certain things to people. It could be a fitna for them. There are times when, and I have been guilty of that. And sometimes there's times when you reveal information that can be problematic for people. And you should reveal self and stuff. They will do all these things. Does that make sense? And I'm not against that concept. It's just the only thing for me, just in case anyone's misunderstanding here, I'm not saying blurt out. Like, for example, you don't teach a 6-year-old kid the fiqh of intimacy, even though there's ayat in the Quran that clearly talk about it, and then say, but it's Quran. Like, as in, you don't, you know what I'm saying?
Use hikmah, use wisdom.
There's definitely wisdom.
Put everything in its place.
But my point is that, for me, the defining factor is Allah and His Messenger, which we all agree. But that's the point that I'm trying to say, is that I just want to make sure that's our anchor.
So just to be clear, because obviously we want people to walk away with actionable advice, right? So how is it, let's use you as an example, right? Where do you place the people when it comes to that process? So first you look at, okay, when I'm making a decision, okay, let's say for example someone's deciding, I'm going to go to uni or not, for example, right? What's the process? First and foremost, is Allah going to be pleased with this? Is Allah going to be happy with this? What's next after that? Do you look at yourself? Do you look at your friends, your close trusted friends? Do you look at the people? Like, at what point do you then consider, okay, is this something for the people or not?
I haven't reflected on my framework enough to be able to just split it out like that. But point being is that you go to Allah and His Messenger, you go to people of knowledge, you do shura amongst yourselves, you weigh out, you look at things. I don't know if it's just, as in, I haven't like reflected enough to identify the framework. But
because even like, look, there's a brother very recently, I'm not going to mention his name, but he did something which we were like, bro, that was not wise at all in terms of for the people or this or that. Like, why would you do such a thing? And then we spoke to him and he was like, oh, by the way, this sheikh and that sheikh, I spoke to them before doing it and they gave me the green light. Straight away we were like, oh, okay. I still don't agree with you, and I believe I'm putting the people on the board, as in I believe it's bad for the people and bad for Salafiyya and Da'wah or whatever. But if you're saying that you had this sheikh and they gave you the green light and you explained it in detail to them, bro, like, you do you at the end of the day. I can't, what can I say to that? So you're right. So first and foremost, Allah and His Messenger, then people of knowledge, then I guess it would be yourself, your friends, your family, people that you trust, get take advice from, and then it would be, okay, then just take into consideration, is this appropriate for the people? Is this? But I guess if you've asked the people of knowledge, they know it if it's appropriate.
But also it's important to ask people of knowledge who understand that particular context.
Masala. And the other thing is, it's not realistic. I'm going to be careful how I say this, right? It's not realistic to ask people of knowledge for every single little thing, right? Like, Is it realistic for us to ask people knowledge for every single title that we do, every single thumbnail that we do, every single project that we do, every single... So it's like you have principles within which you operate.
That's where you learn yourself. So you can
You learn
work
yourself,
around these
and then there
parameters.
are times when you know what, let me go ask this. Sometimes it will be before you do the thing, or sometimes you might do something, have a backlash, then you go to people and ask them, and then sometimes they'll say, no, it's calm. You don't have to change anything. Like even with the Badr Club, right? There was some mashayikh that said, you don't have to do anything. And I honestly believe we could have kept it as it was, the Badr Club. We had mashayikh that said there's nothing wrong
I
with
don't
this
think you guys
whatsoever.
should have changed it.
You know what it was? There was a particular mashayikh who we got a very good relationship with out of respect. Like, we've done this before. There have been episodes that we've done, not channel, but other podcasts or, one-off shows or whatever they were, where they got crazy backlash.
The Fat Hairy Wives one, because a lot of people ask.
The Fat Hairy Lazy Wives one. We did that, and I'll be honest with you, till today, I believe that was a very beneficial podcast.
Wait, is that relationship goals?
Yeah.
Was it
One brother
That
called...
wasn't. I wasn't on that one.
No,
Right?
you weren't on
Oh
it.
yeah, I was gonna say.
One brother
Damn.
called me, said, bro,
No,
may
I
Allah
don't
bless
think it was
you.
relationship goals. It was a separate...
You know what brother said? Brother said, may Allah bless you. Wallahi, man, the brothers are saying all their wives have gone to the gym.
They made a gym group chat.
Now, I don't know if the gym was appropriate and it had cameras or not, I hope. But point being, my point was not to go to the gym, but it was...
It had the effect that was intended.
Yeah, it was get in shape.
Was that, just out of curiosity, was that relationship goals? I'm sure that was just a separate standalone...
Yeah, it was relationship.
Was it relationship goals? Oh, I don't even remember. The point is that I still till today think it was a very good podcast, and we did a second one as well, Treat Your Husband Like a King, and both of them I believe were very good podcasts. However, we got a call from someone who we respect very much, and as a result of that, we took it down because out of that respect. And the same thing was with the name, the Badr Club as well. It's just certain mashayikh who got very good rapport, very good relationship. They said, look, I believe it's better. Just change it. Just be on the safe side.
And sometimes that's good.
So you don't want to come across as disrespectful.
Yeah, one of the things that's really important, I also believe, is that sometimes have people above you that can shut you down.
Even if you believe you're
Even
right.
if you believe you're right, because...
It just humbles you.
And it's...
No, you have to stay grounded, bro. You have to have people who.
And you got to know your levels, innit?
Yeah, exactly.
That I think is a golden piece of
And the
advice.
Prophet said, Al-barakatu ma'a akabirikum. The barakah is with the elders. So I believe that even if you do concede to that, there's barakah in the decision, even if I disagree. But the people are not.
So one thing when it comes to the
Scholars.
people, when it comes to the people is sometimes you've been in a situation where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And the example is there's a story, quite a famous story. You guys probably heard it. The version I heard was father, son, and donkey. I don't know. Some of you guys heard. You heard father,
Husband,
wife, and donkey. You heard father, son, and Holy Spirit.
Astaghfirullah.
You did, right? So look, there's a father, son, and donkey,
That's
right?
not-
I don't
Last-
even know the story that he's talking about. I caught the connection there. Or like the content of the story. I think I'm gonna hear it now for the first time. I think so.
So there's a father, son, and donkey, right? So they're traveling, and at first, the father's riding the donkey because he's older, right? So the son, out of respect, lets his father ride. They go for a village, and the people of the village say to them, "Look how unmerciful. Unmerciful? What's the
Merciless.
merciless? The unmerciful. I like the fact you use the word ostracizing, mashallah. Because the English is coming back from the last episode. Yeah, I clocked that. Actually, was going to point it out.
Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens and that. The people of the village were like, look, he's so merciless. He's allowing his young son to walk, and he's sitting comfortably on a donkey. So they're like, okay, come, let's swap. So he lets his son ride. They go for another village. The people of that village are like, look at his son. He's so disrespectful to his father. His father's older than him in age, and he's not letting him ride donkey. So then they're like, okay, come. We both won't ride the donkey. They go for the next village, and they're like, look, these guys are idiots. They got a donkey and they're not even using it. Like, what's the point? You might as well give us the donkey. So then they carry the donkey. They go for the next village. They feel like, bro, look, these guys, they're idiots. They got a donkey, they should be riding. And instead,
They're carrying it.
they're carrying the donkey. So the moral of the story is people always find something to pick at.
Yeah.
So you can't be someone, because like I said, look,
a
going
good
back to this
story.
thing,
That's a good
there's a
story,
spectrum, right? You got some people who give so much weight. Like we know brothers, right, who have ended up in hospital because of backlash they've got from videos, right? And there are some people, on the other hand, sometimes they'll say brothers who they just do their own thing and they just set no. The whole world is saying, listen, this is wrong. What are you doing? This is haram. This is wrong. Like, no, I believe it's right. I'm going to carry on doing it. So the point is, you can't be on either extreme. And the example of people who, you just consider people too much, and you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with the people, is, for example, when it comes to the issue of, we've been coming to the UAE for a long time, and alhamdulillah, over the years, Allah's allowed us to experience, some of the final things in life, alhamdulillah. But it's something that we never ever put up online. Not even just the UAE, just generally, in terms of when it came to wealth, when it came to these things. I mean, people that are close to us knew what the situation was. We've helped brothers if they needed money or particular situations, or we've booked up, holidays with, villas or penthouses, whatever it might have been.
You're talking about when we played Mafia in Atmosphere?
In Atmosphere, yeah.
Without lying.
Without lying. Yeah.
Atmosphere is the highest restaurant in the world.
Yeah. I mean, there was times when you guys left in a
G.
G63 40 minutes before us, and we caught up to you guys in a Lamborghini Urus. That was an amazing memory. We've got a video of that. Maybe we'll play the video on here.
Video to them. Send the video to them. Send the video to them. Send it in the group. Send it in the group. Quick.
We left 40 minutes after them. Look at this. That's peak. That is so peak. That is so peak. Oh my, wow.
Just to show, that was from 2000.
Sammy reminded me of a memory. We were in the penthouse in, I think, the second tallest building in the city, and we were trying to throw paper airplanes and see.
You remember that? Yeah, that was good.
Through the arch in Atlantis.
SubhanAllah, you guys were littering, yeah?
No, we never actually. Did we actually throw it?
Snap.
Did we actually throw it?
Yeah, we.
Can't remember.
Imran
was like, I can get it through, and I was like, if someone could get through, I'll give them $1,000, and it's too far.
It was like
it's
50
too
miles
far
away,
bro.
But the point is,
he made some aerodynamics.
I was ready. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna show them today.
You did Boeing in it.
You didn't go that.
Makes sense, innit?
Over the years, we've had many opportunities.
Bro. My parents can't be on the board right now. Mom and Dad, I love you, but
we've had many opportunities to show a particular lifestyle, but we chose to not do that. Number one, evil eye. Number two, people say, "Oh, you guys are just showing off," or this or that, whatever it might be. And
also, because there was no need to show the people. I think it was genuine. I have no needs. My life.
No need.
I'm going to show you.
Yeah, keep private life. So when it came to the issue of the Brother Club, we realized, there's a problem, there's a need for brothers to be earning, so on and so forth. And we said we don't operate 6 figures. One of the first criticisms people had was, but like
you guys are
broke.
broke.
You guys are coming up talking about 6 figures.
Oh, you only ever made money for dawah or whatever.
Yeah. People started making hideous slanders and lies, saying that we're taking money from the da'wah. When wallahi, Allah's our witness, the only thing we've ever done is put money into the da'wah from our own pockets. But that's a separate issue. We've done a separate video on that. The point of the matter is had we been people who had been showing our life, by the way, guys, we're in Dubai, we're in a G63, by the way, guys, we're in a Lamborghini, by the way, guys, we're in this car, by the way, guys, we're on the Palm, by the way, guys, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this. People are like, brother, you guys are just showing off your life. You guys are just show offs. You guys are this, you guys are that. We didn't do it. People are like, oh, you guys are fake. You guys are scammers. You guys are this, you guys are that. Don't be a person who becomes broken down, fixated, unable to move because you're worried about what people are going to say. You're never going to be able to snap out of that. You're never going to escape the criticism of the people. What's the quote that you said? What? You don't need to explain yourself?
Because the people who love you, they don't need it. And the people who hate you, they won't believe it.
They won't believe it. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't times where you clarify. Even, like you said, the Prophet Muhammad sometimes gave way to it. But generally speaking, that shouldn't be the asl. That shouldn't be the default, I think. And that's a very important distinction to make, because a lot of people, for example, it's people out there that could make amazing businesses, but they're worried about what people are going to say if I fail. People sometimes, a lot of businesses these days are content based. If they make content, people are scared what people are going to say about how I look, about how I sound, what I speak. Like, people are very conscious.
Can I just reflect on something? Yeah.
Go on.
Honestly, there's a lesson we can take from. May Allah guide him and us, Dr. Asaqadi. This guy has said some of the most craziest and nastiest things. He clearly doesn't care what the people think. He said Umar ibn Khattab, if he was given an Aqidah test, he would fail. He said the Aqidah has things, so the Sharia has things in it that are bizarre. It's a statement of kufr. He said, if I could just paint a picture for the people, the Quran,
I don't necessarily think that's praiseworthy.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just want to paint a picture. I'm not trying to, I'm just,
Go for it.
I want to reflect on something. He, at the same time, he mentioned the Quran. We can't say it's been preserved word for word. The issue of Ya'juj and Ma'juj.
Credit cards.
Stuff worse than that. Does that make sense? That this almost every
Scholars don't know the situation.
Scholars don't know, and almost every season he comes up with something like shirk is not shirk. Like, you know,
Istighatha's not shirk.
as in the way we understand shirk to be. No, you got it wrong. Like, to get me. Point being is that he doesn't respond to people, and which is why he's probably one of the most productive people in the West in terms of propagating his message. Now, his message is not praiseworthy.
No,
But him. His message is not praiseworthy.
100%.
But is he conveying and communicating his message to the masses? Is he getting his batil, false point across? He is.
Yeah.
And Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said something, and you told me this many years ago when you read the tafsir of Surah Al-Asr. When Allah said, وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Be patient in enjoying the truth, and be patient upon the and enjoying each other in patience. Be enjoying each other upon the truth and enjoying each other upon patience. And Ibn Taymiyyah said that patience is such a powerful thing that even people of misguidance, when they're patient, they get their objectives. So imagine people of the haqq, if they're patient, they will get their objectives. Does that make sense? So I'm saying this guy, and I actually remember I seen a video of this Dr. Yasir Qadi over a decade ago, and he actually said, you know, one of the most powerful ways to respond to your critics is through the deafening silence of your progress. When you respond to the critics and you get caught up in that and you consider them, it stunts your progress, number one, because you won't do and say certain things that are pleasing to Allah or that are the truth because of what people might think. And also you get caught up in the back and forth. And one of the biggest examples of how it's not necessarily like productive, when that guy made that video last year about the Brothers Club and opened suspicion in a way where he was trying to say that we have taken charity money and whatnot and so on and so forth, and we made that video to clarify and brought the proofs and evidence. Remember, I didn't want to do it. You wanted to do the video. And no worries, we did the video. In the moment, I actually was like, you know what, my bad, I guess it was a good idea. Yeah, you're right. But then this year, that same video went viral on TikTok and all those other platforms. It reached more people than it had done the first time. And no one remembered or was even around to see the clarification that we did. And as far as people are concerned, his criticisms stand. So in my mind,
okay,
was there even a benefit?
Okay, I'll start with the Yasir Qadi thing. From my perspective, I don't believe it's praiseworthy, the fact that he's just gone on without worrying about his credit. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why he is where he is. And in his, you know, he's just going further and further into the falsehood. Is because of the fact that he doesn't listen to nobody. He doesn't listen to anyone. And nobody. I'm not talking about him specifically, because I don't know what's in his heart. But generally, that could be an arrogance where I don't need to listen to anyone. Could be, but I can do my own thing, and I believe that's. If I can finish, I don't necessarily believe that's a good thing to have. Mm-hmm. Yes, you shouldn't give too much consideration to the people, definitely, but to where you're giving zero consideration in your own lane, in your own path, where no one can stop me, no one can influence me. I am just going to be a bulldozer and just go through no matter what, who says what. I don't necessarily believe that's a good thing. And
no, with regards, he does give consideration to people. I don't think it's that he doesn't give. I honestly believe he gives consideration to people, and that one of the reasons for that is why he didn't want the Quran thing to come out. I was one that brought that out.
Yeah.
And then another brother pressed him on a podcast.
But that was just because his research wasn't done.
No. I honestly believe that he genuinely thought this is wrong for the people. As it's something he believed, and he was having these discussions behind closed doors, but he genuinely believed it was going to be long for people, or at least the time wasn't right to bring it out. This issue about shirk, he's had this belief for many, many years.
Yeah. So what's your point? Because before you were saying...
No. My point was that he, as in Shakhsi and him, he believes, and I'm saying that I believe the guy's misguided, and I believe that his beliefs are wrong, and they're completely misdirected. But he as an individual believes that he's right. He's a man on a mission. He's not going to let the people stop him. Does that make sense? And likewise Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah was a man on a mission. He got arrested 6 times.
I really hate the fact that you're comparing him.
I'm not comparing him. Billah,
No, it's just
I'm not comparing
no, what I'm saying is because
Even the characteristic that
he
you
bangs on the fact that he's like Ibn Taymiyyah.
Okay, I'm just giving an example because
I feel so uncomfortable.
Okay.
Give someone else an
I'm
example.
not even trying to compare him. I'm trying to compare. I'm trying to compare a principle.
But you're using
I'm not comparing the
Colour
two.
to colour.
bro.
I'm not comparing the two.
But colour
know
to
if this
colour.
is another semantic.
Sifa.
No, I'm
But you
just,
are comparing the two.
I'm
as
not
in-
comparing. I'm trying to compare a principle.
Yeah, that they both, and you're using them both as in.
No, as alright, bro, forget it.
Bro, I'm genuinely Man's comparing this, bro. I'm not comparing.
There's
them.
actually
Remember,
no
you actually cut me up before I could make my point, so that you don't even know where I was going with it. But it's can't believe it.
9, 8, 9,
Huh?
8. Sorry, stop.
point.
The point that I'm mentioning, what I want to say is, whether a person is guided or not,
Go on.
whether he's right or wrong, I'm saying there's something to be said, but just doing what you believe is right. Of course, you should go back to scholars. Of course, it's not about what you believe is right. It should actually be right. Does that make sense? But I'm saying that a guy who is wrong and is putting out things that are tantamount to disbelief in certain circumstances, he's not letting the people's criticisms stop him. Which is why he honestly, bro, is a force to be reckoned with. This as in for us, it's like these Salafi brothers are beefing over Taymiyyah. He went with this guy and that guy. Bruv, there's actually a threat. Like this Don is just teaching weekly. He's just pushing out his filth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't even care what you have to say.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I don't think that's a good thing.
I have an
I'm not-
analogy.
You're missing the point. For him, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But is he reaching his desired effect?
I have a better analogy that I think might illustrate Imran's point.
He is.
Go for
No, I'm
it.
saying in person.
So-
Now, if a person who's on the haq has that same approach,
No, but even the person on the haq,
Okay,
they should
great.
give consideration because there are times that's what holds you in check.
No, Imran
There are
said
times you will be
different.
wrong.
Let me
But
guess. Okay.
the principle I understand, you shouldn't give too much weight, yes. But I don't think you should say, because what you're saying is he doesn't give any weight. But then you're saying he does give weight because the email thing.
can I just
So
mention, 'cause
I'm
he
just
might see
confused.
this clip and might get a bit, I'm onto you.
So am I.
So you're aware. That force that's gonna wreck it.
When the immovable
I'm gonna
wall.
wreck you, inshallah. I'm sorry. I don't. As in,
For the sake of Allah.
Yeah, for the sake of Allah. 100%. As in,
Not
I
impersonal.
don't need to think that I'm sitting here like, as in, I'm scared of you. No, brother. Man's been quiet for a couple. All of you innovators been quiet for a couple years because we're in the chamber. Do you understand? I promise you.
It'll
We
be funny.
didn't stop being a thorn in the neck.
Abid, just,
All of you.
Abid, just cut in. You know, from the last episode that we just did that. I'm gonna shoot them. I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna kill you.
Wallah, can I tell you something? Man, chilling. Don't worry.
Abbas, what were you gonna say?
Your analogy. The
I'm
better
sorry.
I
analogy.
feel like you know
I'm
what it is.
sorry.
I feel like there's no disagreement. I just feel like sometimes the way you communicate.
Is it wrong what I just said? Should I care what the people think?
No.
I don't care what you think, bro.
Okay, so what I was trying to bring up is when you said he's a force to be reckoned with, what you were trying to say is never underestimate your enemy, which
Yes.
is what the best example that I can think of is Sheikh al-Capitalism. His name is Henry Ford. What he said was you shouldn't take any competition. You should never consider any competition except the competitor who never bothers you at all, never talks about you, never addresses you, but he works silently on his business every day. That's the one you should be like
Scared of.
Yeah, concerned about. Everyone else is coming. Forget what they're irrelevant. It's the guy who's every day grinding on his own. He's the guy who you should be worried about. And is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Oh.
And can I just mention on that note, yeah, because I can tell it's actually just clicked in me. I feel like that quote really touched you.
Yeah.
That's why all of the marriage apps should really be concerned, because Abbas is. I can see you've been doing the mad thing.
Yeah,
Just sitting there silently
yeah.
building some of the match.
I'm ready to outwork people who want to throw 6 figures against me. Inshallah, let's see what happens.
Was it one brother said this marriage app is invested $1 million.
Yeah,
so he
something like
So he
that.
didn't want to work for Cinematch.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he was that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no.
what he said.
Well, no,
And you just went to the
the words he said to me were, they were willing to put money on the table. And I was like, okay, cool, bro. We could have paid you as well. And he was there like, no, keep your money. And then he was there like, bro, these guys are putting in. There was a group of brothers, and he was talking. He was like, these guys are putting in 6 figures, £1 million into their business. And Cinemax just Abbas playing around on his laptop. And I was like, okay, inshallah, guys, I'm gonna pray the salah. I have to go, inshallah. Yeah,
it's the hair and the tortoise, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's literally
it's the hair and the tortoise.
Yeah.
And I always believed that. I had this conversation with Brother Adam a couple of years ago. I think it's just before Corona. I said the reason why I honestly, and I ask Allah to keep us consistent and keep us sincere. The reason why I'm not scared of any of these innovators, okay, and I'm not scared of any of these people. Like sometimes they get, you know, their videos are the ones that are going viral and they're pushing some misguidance for like a couple months, maybe even they have their moment for a year. The reason why I don't bat an eyelid, bro, is because inshallah you're not as patient as me. You won't outwork me.
In the Quran, you mentioned that when the falsehood and the truth comes, the falsehood will perish and the truth will
100%. And Allah said people reached imama because of what? Because of patience and certainty. Allah will make you an imam because of that. Does that make sense? Like even like for example, when it comes to the issue of seeking knowledge, like I didn't go to Medina University. Okay, I didn't get the chance to go and do just 6 years dedicated, nothing else, focus on it. But you know, I'm cool, bro. You know why? Because let's see. Okay, man's graduated. Yeah, are you still studying? And will you still be 10 years from now? What about 20 years from now? Like my point.
Because I'll still be here.
Inshallah. Inshallah. With Allah's tawfiq.
Yeah.
We have to be sincere.
Yeah, of course.
Wallahi, may Allah protect us from insincerity. And if I said anything, I was going to say, Wallahi, Allahumma inna na'udhu bika. Allahumma inna na'udhu bika an nushrika bika wa nahnu na'lam wa nastaghfiruka lima la na'lam.
Sa'ad, go on, you go sensei.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is that I guess as the statement goes, right, رضا الناس غاية لا تدرك. That trying to please the people is a objective you're never going to reach. So as long as, I know, if you're cautious about what you're going to put out, it's not on the basis of are people going to be happy with me or not, but rather, you know, what's the repercussions that could happen? You know, will people be misguided? Would that happen? This issue, but not about pleasing the people. Where some people, for example, like even in the da'wah, they'll do things because it brings about likes, it brings about more following, it brings about people saying, yes, we like this guy. If you do that, then you're never going to succeed because there'll always be people out there that's going to criticize you. But if you do it on the basis of, okay, this is what the people need, or this is not what the people need, and I guess the statement of Ali radiallahu anh, which is to tell the people that which they can understand, right? It's based around more so that, not about pleasing them or not, or yeah.
You got 5 minutes. Yeah. No, I was going to say the opposite concern. Instead of being so worried that of what the people are going to say that you don't do anything, the other hand is being such a people pleaser that you basically do everything to pander to every audience. And obviously that's a big concern as well, because you're never going to make any traction. You don't have enough of in business we call it a niche, but I guess in the real world it's just like people pleasing, right? You're never going to make any progress on that. You always have to have a small group of people whose opinions and stuff that you value, like your ideal audience, your ideal users, your ideal customers. Those are the people whose opinions you care about a lot. Like you're not going to care about people. Let's say, for example, you're in a restaurant. You don't care if people who've never eaten here think that the food tastes bad, or the restaurant is bad, or the branding is bad, or menu is ugly, or whatever. But the people who eat there, you're going to be like, how is the food? Please tell me. I'm really concerned about what you think about it. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So you have to divide. You have to like some tafriq between which people whose opinions you consider and which people whose opinions
and that's true. Sorry,
completely dismiss.
That's why I mentioned that point, because I always mention this, and we didn't get to mention at the beginning. You know, it's not that we, as in who are the people whose opinions count. For me, I always have a two-step thing. Number one is so are you qualified to give me criticism? And your qualification, for me, I look at two things. Do you know what you're talking about? And do you have experience with it? Because it's not just to know. Like sometimes you find a lot, there's a common trend. We have, these students of knowledge in Medina, they sit there, some of them been studying for 10 years. They love to point fingers. You, man, love to point fingers. Does that make sense? But when you come to back to the West, oh, you're doing what I used to do 10 times harder and worse. Does that make sense? Because suddenly you just realize that the situation, the reality calls for this type of approach. Does that make sense? So for me, I can't really take you seriously sitting on your couch because you have you have certain concepts and principles and facts in your mind. Do you have experimentational experience with the process? Does that make sense? And that's why there are some ulama were like Sheikh Asim, hafidhullah ta'ala, like he's really like, well, I really admire that Sheikh, man. Sheikh Albani student. Like, he really, like, when he doesn't just tell you facts and figures, he understands the application.
Yeah, it's not just theoretical.
Right, so I will fully take on what he's saying. Sheikh Diya Allah. Just like that. You know what I'm saying? Like a person who's actually involved.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you just like armchair critics.
Yeah.
Bro, everyone in the field dislikes armchair critics.
Just before we conclude, let me ask you one final question, just to make sure that I've understood your position correctly. All right, you want to use an example? So right now you said the only people you consider people of not like as you, but you're saying you do give consideration to the people sometimes. For example, let me give the example, right? Just so you can understand the principle. Obviously, we can bleep out the details, don't worry. But for example, the episode that we're going to do, right? This moment, I was happy for it to go out. You said today, oh, let's not release it because getting smoked right now by the public because he's been talking about that stuff. So we don't want to catch that smoke as well. And that is essentially, you put the people on the board for that decision.
No, but I honestly believe the reason I did that is because it was going to open up a kind of worms
for the religious side of stuff.
From the religious side of things.
I think that's a bit different. Yeah,
no, it's different. It's very different because it's gonna bring.
It's only
that's
ever
min al-mafasid, right?
It's only ever.
You're saying you're judging the masalih or
but
al-mafasid.
my point is that
only ever based on religious.
There is not not always. It's a very sticky thing, isn't it? Like sometimes it's not based on.
When give me an example. I'm trying to think of an example. It's not been religious based.
By the way, isn't also like I don't know. I find there's a lot of confliction between the fact that
I can beef out the details.
Like for example, when it comes to da'wah, right? There's more kind of say it how it is, and less kind of concern for people, right? In terms of pleasing them. No, there is. I'm buff now. But like I don't know, like because you guys are doing business as well, then it's the issue of business. Like generally speaking, I would tell a person if they're doing business, don't care about what the people think. Because at the end of the day, you do you. Does that make sense? You ignore those kind of things. But then when you're like a da'i, you're doing business at the same time, and you're in the public eye. Now you just confuse everybody.
And you know, Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran, time and time again, talks about hiding knowledge. And sometimes it just comes down to that. It's just man just hiding knowledge for his own desires and his own benefits.
Like, what's an example where that's happened, just so I can understand, where it's not been for a religious reason?
As in people shouldn't do kitman.
Because there are times where, for example,
people hide, they do kitman al-ilm. They're telling you it's maslahah.
You're talking from the angle of da'wah though, right?
There was a brother, for example, who done something with...
We need to wrap up, by the way.
Okay. There was a brother who done something with a person who's known for bid'ah and whatnot, right? And he felt that it was appropriate for him to share a platform with this particular brother. So when I spoke with the brother, he said to me, the guy's Salafi. He told me he's Salafi. But then he said to me, but I can't share that with the people because it will be tough for me and it just creates problems for me. So I said to the brother,
we've done it.
I said to the brother, I said, Akhi, so wallahi, I said, now you've messed up. Because you just admitted to me that the brother has told you, I hide the truth for my personal benefit.
But that brother accepted. He goes, yeah, you know what, you're right, that's wrong. The brother shouldn't do that.
But then he didn't seem like he was going to stop. And I hope he does. But the point that I'm mentioning was that I said, now you've shared a platform with this guy. People have come now to you, they're going to now also come see my man. And you know that this man has said and announced, I do hide knowledge. I'm Salafi. I've been making people think I'm an Ikhwan this whole time, but I've been Salafi. But I just can't tell you. Because my visas are going to get cut or whatever have you. So my point is that now, it's like, why not expose this guy? Why not do inkar? Why not move away from him? I'm not saying that brother's got ill intention and that brother's insincere, but I'm saying these are things that should make man scared. Like, who am I doing this for? Sometimes it's subtle. Like, that's why it's called talbis. 100%. Iblis.
So can you just give one example just before we end? Because we have to end. I really want to know. Because obviously, in this time, there's a tacit implication there that it's within.
But that's what I'm saying. I can't go in man's heart.
No, from us.
Yes, I'm saying I can't go in your heart.
But, okay, when the time when you thought, very quickly, please, because the brother's stressing. Or should we just have this conversation outside and conclude the episode?
Yeah, let's conclude the episode.
Okay,
guys, going out.
We're hiding it from you. because we're worried what you might say, what you might think of us. No, I'm joking. With that said, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Hopefully you guys benefited. I really enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. See you on the next episode of Chai with my Bhai. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu
By the way,
ilayk.
this episode might not get out because we might decide.
If
If it doesn't get out, then the name's not going to get mentioned. So
Yeah, I'm just saying.